Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to American Defender. I'm going to try to do this without my phone screwing up. If it does, I'm sorry. What we've got right here is the insides of a Keltec Sub 2000. If you don't know how the Sub 2000 works, what you have is this tube right here, which is on the second generation Sub 2000. This tube is actually considered the firearm. Okay, this is first generation, so the plastic lower is the serialized piece. I'm just going to get straight to the shortcomings of this rifle. This is what I found, the shortcomings of this rifle. The poor planning, poor engineering. Just I'm finding so many things that could have been improved upon. All right, and I am just an amateur gunsmith. I did go to school for it and passed, but I'm not practicing. I don't have a shop or anything like that because, well, quite honestly, I don't want an FFL because that sounds like a headache to me, all the stuff that you got to go through for it. So either way, let's go ahead and talk about this. Okay, so here's the problems with the Sub 2000. Problem number one is this feed ramp. This is the reason why this gun is apart, because as you can see right here, this is worn out. It's broke off right there. Okay. And you can see the dings right here. This sits right here. You can see I got the M Carbo stainless steel one in there now. That's what should have been in there from the factory. In my opinion, at least. As you can see, it's burnt. You can see as it had the material start to degrade and carbonize and just... Come on, phone. It's just destroyed. This is 1,500 rounds later. You can see where the hollow points were running up it and digging a trench. It's trash. Okay, so that's my number one problem. Okay, that's why I got in here to fix this. It's because of this feed ramp. Why they thought that it was okay to make this a consumable part, I don't know. So we'll put that to the side. Another thing that I found on here that was really dumb to me is if you notice, all these pins, they're placed in plastic. And none of the bosses that they are placed in, the pinouts, none of them are reinforced with steel. None of them. Now, this is the trigger pin right here. This one I don't mind so much. This one's okay. It doesn't really have a whole lot of load on it. But if you can see down in here, there's the pin for the hammer. And the boss for the hammer pin. There's the sear pin boss right there. Come on, camera. Hold on, let's see what it does here. There we go. So there's the boss for the sear. Here's the sear pin. Okay. Everything's plastic. This is all load bearing. This spring has approximately 60 pounds of pressure on it. Okay. It's pretty hefty little spring. I've heard it's got approximately 60 pounds of pressure on it. I don't believe it to have 60 pounds. I believe it to have like 20, 25 at max, but everything I've read says 60 to 65 pounds on that hammer spring. If so, in the plastic, that's ridiculous. That's really ridiculous. 20 pounds alone is ridiculous. But anyway, none of that is reinforced with steel. The pins themselves are steel, but they're right in, straight into the plastic. Okay. And all these castings on this side, all these bosses, they're all thicker on this side of the receiver than they are on the other side of the receiver. And we'll show you what happened on the other side of the receiver. Also, the other shortcomings on this is the way these springs are captured and held in. They're all just wedged in, basically. This hammer pin and your hammer's up in here. This is the sear engagement with the hammer here. If you can kind of see it. This spring just, this is your common real common hammer spring. It's like every other hammer spring there is out there. It's got the little tab on it, and it goes to the back of the hammer, and then it's got a bushing that goes through it, and the hammer and everything, and it kind of hangs out here. The sear spring, though, you notice mine's missing? It's because it went flying on me when I took this apart. This is the first time this gun's ever been apart, too. It's only 1,500 rounds later, guys. I had to take it apart and do, fix some major stuff with this thing. We've already fixed the firing pin issue that I had with the slam fires, and then I got in here and had to fix that feed ramp. What they should have done on this, well, what they did do on this, let's start there, is there's a torsion spring that goes on here. And this torsion spring has one little leg that kind of sits up in this curve. And then there's another leg that comes up and around like this and under this pin here. Okay, again, which is just embedded in plastic. So, because of this pin right here has a lot of force on it. And these springs like to slip off, especially the sear spring. What they should have done is they should have drilled like a 256 hole right up inside this sear, right up in there, okay, and put the leg of the sear up inside of here. There's plenty of room. This is a 1/16 of an inch punch that I'm pointing with, and you can see there's plenty of room, okay, and it wouldn't have degraded or compromised anything with the sear. So they should have drilled a hole here that kind of went up to here just to capture the leg of the spring. And then over here, what they should have done is made a groove right about there, okay, right about there, top and bottom, for these springs to sit in. But they don't, they just sit there. Now I'll show you what happens with this, okay. Because of the way they have this, these springs every now and again will move, okay. They will move, vibrations, heat, and everything, because again, you got the bolt here coming back, it's a direct blowback, you got this gap right here, and as you can see by all the particulates of powder right here, you've got hot gases and powder blowing straight down on your control group. Well, after extended periods of fire, this is what happens. Right here's the boss for the sear. You can see it's walked out of it. That's for the firing pin. It's walked out of it. And this is that dowel right there. Okay, this is where it locates. And you can see that the firing, or the hammer spring, I should say, not the firing pin spring, that goes on the firing pin. The hammer spring sits right here on the top of this. And you can see it's ate the crap out of this plastic, okay? Just ate it good, all right? As a matter of fact, it's cracked, this clamshell. So you can see there's the crack right there, okay? I mean, you can, there it is. You can see it's cracked, okay, all the way through. I don't know what they were thinking when they thought it was a good idea to do this and not reinforce this stuff with steel, but it's no good. Why am I doing this? Why am I showing you guys this? Well, if you're looking into getting a keltec, okay, now it doesn't matter if it's Gen 1 or Gen 2. This is all still the same between the two of them as far as this relationship and how this is all done. Also, none of this is steel reinforced. It's just Zytel and fiberglass. If you're looking at getting a keltec sub 2000, I want you to really consider this, okay? What I've got going on here after 1,500 rounds. You've got parts that are consumable that shouldn't be consumable. You have a very complicated, it seems easy, but it's a complicated, poorly designed internal system. You've got gases blowing down inside of here that are hot, melting, and ultimately causing destruction of the gun. The gun self-destructs, okay? It's designed to self-destruct. That's why they put the plastic feed ramp and plastic front sights. They designed it to break so that you had to go back to Keltec and buy parts. That's why they did what they did. The only thing holding this buffer tube in, okay, there's three things holding it in. One, your feed ramp. Your feed ramp holds it in. There's these 3 notches right here, and then there's some little divots kind of cast into the plastic right there, as you can see. Those locate right here. That holds your holds it horizontally so it doesn't shift this way. And it also kind of sits in this cradle. And then you have 5 little screws and this little cap that hold it all on. That's all that holds this in, okay? Really, in all honesty, though, these screws are doing nothing. They're just holding the 2 halves together. If this was to strip out back here, okay? If these little bumps were to strip out, this tube will slide right out, okay? Or if this pin was to get damaged or broke, this will come right out. You do have this little nut that goes on the back, but you can see here, being with this nylon and stuff, it's fine thread. Who the hell in their right mind, you're supposed to be a professional. You're supposed to be supposedly a genius and a bright engineer. Who in their right engineering mind puts fine threads on a nylon-based plastic? Nobody does. Anybody that's in machine work knows that you're supposed to do coarse threads with it, because the fine threads will eventually strip. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on with it. Between, they don't have this stuff supported right. The way these bushings are made and everything, it's a cheap chintzy gun, guys. It's just a cheap chintzy gun. So if you're looking at getting one of these, I would highly suggest that you don't. But then again, I'm not going to tell you what to do. So you look at this real good. If you're looking at buying a Keltec, Gen 1, Gen 2, don't care. Sub 2K, don't care, okay? And you tell me if you want to deal with all this. Okay, second of all, to the guys out there that are hating on the High Point guys, all right, the Keltec owners, the Sub 2K guys, like, oh, your High Point's a pile of crap. This is 1,500 rounds. I've owned High Points that went 10,000 rounds without a single breakage, let alone to this severity. If you've got a High Point and they're giving you crap over it, and this is the gun they're trying to tell you is superior to it, you show them this video and then point at them and laugh. Because that is not quality. Not in the least. This is slapped together, quick, hurry up. You know why this gun became famous, why it became so popular, what its notoriety is the fact that it took Glock mags. If George Kellgren had never made this gun to ever take Glock mags, it would have never succeeded. It never would have. Because it's just such a cheap, chintzy pile of crap. So, anyways, guys, there you go. There's a good look at everything inside there and the wear on everything. You see all the powder residue and everything blowing out and blowing down all over. I mean, it's terrible. And there's no way to really clean this stuff without taking it apart. And it's a nightmare. This is the hardest firearm I've ever taken apart and put back together. It is so complicated. People say it's easy. It is not. A 1911 is easy. A Glock is easy. An AK-47 is easy. A Setme, a G93 is easy. Okay, an AR-15 is easy. A High Point carbine is easy. This is a nightmare. So with that, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you for watching again. Just, take this for what it's worth. If you're looking at buying a Keltec Sub 2K, I would reconsider. And like, rate, share, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll see you on the flip. Bye.